Oh hey, I'm Joe the Blue Wizard, and welcome to another episode of the Blue Wizard Basics, the show where I make a quick video demonstrating one basic recipe or one basic technique. Because as any good cook or baker knows, when you know the basics, you can add a little bit of your own inspiration and make any one of 100 or 1,000 different tasty creations. In today's episode, I'm going to be showing you a recipe and a technique, because today we are going to be making royal icing. Royal icing is a delicious basic icing that hardens when it dries. So you can use it for all different kinds of applications. But today, I'm going to be showing you how to use royal icing to decorate sugar cookies. Here's what you'll need to get started. In the bowl of my stand mixer, I have 4 cups of powdered sugar. To that, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of this stuff. This is meringue powder, and you can get this in the baking aisle of some grocery stores. You can also buy it in the baking aisle of craft stores. And it's basically powdered egg white. And lastly, I'm going to add 5 tablespoons of water. And then with our whisk attachment, we're just going to start mixing it up. As I'm mixing, I notice that I have sort of a little powdery, crumbly mess inside of my mixer. And so that tells me that I'm going to need to add more water. So I'm just going to add in another 2 tablespoons. So at this point, I notice that I have a really thick paste inside of my mixer. And though that's okay, I do want to add a little bit more water just to get us a better consistency. The amount of water that you add really depends on the day and the ingredients that you're using in the brand. So I'm just going to add another tablespoon and whisk it up again to see if it gets to the consistency I want. All right, this looks a lot better of a consistency to me. You can see it's a lot more smooth than what we were having before. And so now I just want to get a little bit more air into this frosting. I'm gonna take and whip it up for 5 minutes on a medium to medium high speed. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes and our frosting has about tripled in volume, and you can see it's stiffened up a lot. Now, if you were going to decorate a gingerbread house, this would be the consistency that you want to use it with, because you want that stability. But because we're going to be decorating sugar cookies with this, there's still a little bit more that we have to do to it. All right, so here we have our royal icing. I divided it into 3 different bowls because we're going to be making 3 different colors for this icing. Now, at the time of filming this video, it is close to Easter, so I'm going to be decorating little Easter egg cookies with this. So we want some pastel colors. Now, whenever I'm coloring icing, I always use the Wilton color system in order to do this. Now, this is not an ad, but I do enjoy the system that they give you because they give you a huge pamphlet of all the different colors that you could make or want to make, and they tell you how many drops of each type of food coloring you need to add in order to do it. Now, because this is Easter, I'm going to be going for the pastel colors, and I think I'm going to do blue, green, and yellow. All right, so it says that I'm going to need to add 2 yellows to make a pastel yellow, 1 blue, and 1 pink to make a pastel blue, and 1 orange, and 1 blue to make a pastel green. All right, and then we'll mix that up. All right, so there are 3 colors of icing. Now, right now, these are still a little bit too thick in order to use to decorate our cookies, and so we do have to thin them down a bit. Now, there are 2 different consistencies that we want to make with this icing. We want to make a lining consistency and a flooding consistency. We're going to start with the lining consistency because that's how we're going to outline our cookies. And to get the right consistency, we're just going to add more water. So I'm just going to add in water to our icing a little bit at a time and stir it in carefully. And to get our lining consistency, I'm looking to get the consistency of toothpaste. All right, that did it. I'd say that that's a good consistency for about of a toothpaste-like consistency, as you can see over here. Now we're ready to outline our cookies, and the way that I'm gonna do that is using these little squeeze bottles, all right, with the little nozzle on the end. It's perfect for making our lines. So you can get these in the regular grocery store, you can order them online, or you can get them at the baking aisle of your craft store. So I'm just gonna fill in just a little bit of these bottles with my lining consistency icing. So now what I'm going to do is take the rest of this icing and I'm going to turn it into my flooding consistency. Now the flooding consistency, I'm looking to have the consistency of like a honey. All right, so I'm going to go a little bit more slowly this time. I'm just going to add in about 1/2 tablespoon and see if that does the trick. You don't want to make it too runny or else it dries funny. All right, I think that'll do it, because as I dribble this down, I see that it's starting to resorb into the icing and it's not holding a pattern, okay, which is exactly what I'm looking for my flooding icing to make it a nice smooth finish. So let's start with our cookies. I'm gonna take my lining icing and I'm gonna squeeze it all the way down to the top of my squeeze bottle, and then I'm gonna take and just draw an outline around the edge of the cookie, trying to hold my hand as steady as possible. And there we go. So now we can use our flooding icing to fill in the middle. Now, if this was not such a big area, I would want to use another squeeze bottle for this. But since this is a wide space and I'm not worried about it going all over the place, I can just coax it wherever I want it to go on the cookie. All right, and there we go. That's one cookie finished. So I'm gonna set this off to the side and I'm gonna repeat these steps with all the rest of my cookies and with all the rest of my colors of icing. I'll be back in a little bit. All right, so now all of my cookies have been covered with their base coat of icing. You can see that I've done all 3 colors. The yellow were the ones that I did first, and so those have already started to become a little bit dry to the surface, and so we can actually start to line them with our extra designs. Inside of this bottle, I have a little bit of the white frosting that I held back and I made it into a lining consistency. So now that the tops of these are a little bit more solid, I can start piping another pattern on top of it. So I'm gonna do 3 different types of patterns on these. The first one that I'm gonna do is just some simple lines, because again, the idea is that these are supposed to look like Easter eggs. So I'm just gonna go and make this one striped. There you go. This one I'm going to do polka dots. And this one I think I'm going to do with a combination of the 2. And there you go. 3 different designs of cookies for Easter. So now I'm just gonna go and do all of the rest of my cookies and then we'll take a look at the finished product. And there you have them, the finished products. I think they look kind of nice for Easter. By the way, guys, if you wanted to know how I made the actual cookie part, make sure to check the link in the description below. There's a recipe there for that. Also, guys, now that the frosting is completed, you want to let these sit overnight to dry out completely before you start stacking them anywhere or putting them on a tray, because you do not want to smush up the frosting and stuff. You want to wait for it to be completely dried before you do that. Well, guys, I think that's all that we have time for here today on the Blue Wizard Basics. If you like this video and you want to see others like it, make sure to let me know by hitting the like button down below. And while you're down there, why don't you help my channel to grow by making sure to hit the subscribe button as well. If you like this recipe or any of my other recipes, make sure to check me out at bluewizardfood.com or get the link in the description below this video. Remember kids, you don't have to be a professional chef in order to make magic in your kitchen.